Intelligence without brains. There's a mystery to be solved. We all know plants are alive, but how alive exactly are they? Are plants aware? Are they conscious? Can plants feel pain? Do they know they're being eaten? Only one of those statements isn't true. Do you know which one? How is a plant able to turn the tables and hunt animals? The Venus flytrap. A truly fascinating and unique predator. It's a plant that moves quickly, which is rare, and it's a plant that is carnivorous, which is also rare. But is it conscious? Well, what exactly is consciousness? Consciousness is notoriously hard to define, so in order to do this, there are two words which you need to define first in order to solve this riddle. Conscious, aware of one's own existence, sensations, thoughts, surroundings, etc., and to think. To have a conscious mind, to some extent of reasoning, remembering experiences, making rational decisions, etc. But surely plants can't think, you're saying to yourself right now. Let's start there. Ridiculous? This brings us to our second case study. Have you ever heard of the Mimosa pudica plant? Another fast-moving plant. The Mimosa pudica plant has a fascinating defense mechanism where the plant closes its leaves when it's disturbed. But that also requires a lot of energy. In a research study led by Monica Gagliano, the plant would be dropped from a set height while in a pot that had a styrofoam base. The first time the plant is dropped, its response is to close its leaves in defense. The scientists planned to do the drops 60 times to condition the plant. But after just 2 to 3 drops, the plant deemed the drops to no longer be a threat and no longer would bother to close its leaves, which makes sense because obviously when the leaves are open, they can get more sunlight. However, when the leaves stay closed, you may be able to protect yourself better, but you get a lot less sunlight. Interestingly, when the experiment was done in an area with lots of light, the plants were able to take their time in adjusting their behavior because there's less consequences to having their leaves closed longer. But when the experiment was done in a low light environment, there's an urgency to get it right because in a real scenario, that could be really dangerous for the plant. So the plants had to learn really quickly. Now the next question became in the experiment, how long can they remember this? Because memory is an intrinsic aspect of learning. Learning is a process, and memory is one aspect of that process. After 3 days of the initial experiment, the researchers came back and the plant still remembered. After 6 days, the plant still remembered. Incredibly, the plants have some sort of memory because even after 1 month, the plants did not close their leaves after being dropped. It wasn't a new experience anymore. The plants have learned. But let's push this even further. What else can plants do that we don't know about? Do you think plants can hear? Okay, so plants may be capable of learning, you're saying right now. But hearing? Surely we've gone too far, right? But plants are fascinating, more fascinating than you think. Now, what's one of a plant's worst nightmares? A big fat caterpillar hungrily chomping down on its precious leaves sure has to be up there. While plants may not have ears, they are living in a world constantly full of sound. In a study from the University of Missouri, researchers would record the sounds of caterpillars chewing on the leaves of a plant, then play the recording back for a different plant before allowing the caterpillar to then eat its leaves. They found that the plants were aware of when they were about to be eaten by caterpillars just by hearing the recording. The recording had primed the plants and made them ready so that when they were attacked, they would react accordingly by releasing far more of their chemical defenses than they normally would have. The plants are able to defend themselves from insect threats simply by hearing. When it comes to hearing, maybe most remarkably, there's even a dancing plant. You heard that right, a plant that moves to the sound of music. Well, maybe not a full-on two-step, the plant is definitely moving due to the sound of music and probably dances better than some of you at the club. Interestingly, if you take a dancing plant from the wild that's never had the opportunity to dance because it's too young or came from a quiet area, then try to make it dance, then it doesn't do it very well. It moves a little bit but clearly doesn't do what you'd like it to do. But then train it to dance day after day, and you'll be surprised that day after day it seems to dance a little bit better to the point where it becomes exceptional and it will stay that way. If you make a noise, you'll see the leaves of this plant move non-stop, but if you touch it instead of making a sound, it doesn't move at all. Actually, it's sound that it's sensitive to. So, for scientists, this is a great problem for 2 reasons. First, because they don't know how it works, and secondly, and perhaps even more surprising, scientists don't know what it's for. Because it's very curious to have a plant that makes itself notice by moving. A predator, a plant eater like a deer or a horse, would see it more if it moved rather than not moving, right? So there's a real mystery surrounding this plant. The dancing plant seems to break all the rules. While the dancing plant reacts to sound, most plants don't move from sound, but they do enjoy the energy some music produces and do grow faster with sound than without sound. This is all amazing, but what does this mean then? Are plants aware? So much of our difficulty in understanding plants traces to the fact that they live in a completely other time dimension than we do. They seem still, they seem inactive, just because they're moving at a different scale than we are. Researcher Stefano Mancuso found that time-lapse is a way to close the gap between the plant's time scale and our own time scale. And as soon as you do that, you see the plants for what they are, able to sense their environment and move in a certain direction. Once you look at plants in time-lapse, you gain a new respect for them and what they can do, and that they are much more active. Watch this. This is a bean plant set up in the lab, and with time-lapse, you can see how it's moving to reach the support. This plant knows exactly where the support pole is, and is trying to do all its best to reach the support pole. And if you look closely, you can see the plant has formed a small hook at the end before it's even reached the pole, so we know the bean plant is aware of the pole. Now, look at this case. First, there is the sensing phase. Once they know that there is a pole, then they start competing for it. And look what happens when the first one wins. You can see the other plant change its search in a different direction, searching for alternatives. You can repeat this experiment 100 times, and 100 times you'll get the same result. This means that the second plant is not just aware of the support, it's also aware of another organism, of another plant in this case, and is aware of what the other plant is able to do. And eventually, it just gives up in defeat. Really though, when it comes down to it, it shouldn't be so surprising after all, as plants fight to live and do whatever it takes to survive and live longer. They are the life form after all that has conquered the planet, not humans. 80% of Earth's biomass is plants. They have conquered the planet. They have evolved, adapted, and mastered what it means to live and to be alive and thrive. Compare how the oldest plants can live for thousands of years to how animals can only live for hundreds at most. It's estimated that humans have between 20,000 and 25,000 genes. Now get this, rice has about 40,000 genes. That means rice has more genes than we do despite having only 1/7 as much DNA. It's not a race, but a strange kind of journey. One goes left and the other goes right. The strategies are reversed. We have to recognize, on their journey, plants have gone much further than we have on ours. You've learned a lot. We've come a long way on this journey. Now let's bring this full circle. So are plants conscious? Let's check our definition. You've seen how plants are aware of their own existence and do whatever it takes to survive, like in the caterpillar recording experiment. You've seen how plants can be aware of their own sensations, like with the mimosa pudica plant, feeling itself being dropped, and how it was able to use thought and memory to learn quickly. And you've also seen how plants are able to be aware of their surroundings and of other objects and organisms, like in the beanpole experiment. So what does this all mean? Are you causing suffering by eating or killing them? Do they feel pain? That's the real question. You've learned that they can feel sensations and do know when they're being eaten. But pain, specifically, is a defense mechanism. It's an output of the brain. So do plants have brains? Well, the answer is no. There's no brains in a plant. There's no neurons. It doesn't get depressed. It doesn't get mad. If something causes a human pain, we react instinctually to it, fight or flight, as do other animals. But plants don't have that ability, nor do they have nervous systems or brains, so they may have no biological need to feel pain. What they can have though is something very similar to us, the ability to communicate using electricity, like how the Venus flytrap triggers its trap to snap closed, or how the mimosa pudica plant tells its leaves to fold up. They just use slightly different ions than we do, but it's doing the same thing. So although plants could possibly be conscious, given the fact that plants do not have pain receptors, nerves, or a brain, they simply do not feel pain like us humans do.